And now it's time for Spotlight on the Saints. Remember, a saint is someone who lives a life that lets the sun shine through. I have a little brother who's about 15 years younger than me. We had completely different childhoods. We lived in different communities, even different households. And because of the difference in our age, our relationship was more like that of cousins than brothers. In fact, for many years, it could be like distant cousins. But if you see us and spend some time with us today, there's no doubt that we're brothers. For example, we're both very good looking and humble, but at the same time, we have the same sense of humor. He lives in New Mexico, but when I lost Nelia, he was by my side the very next day. I can only imagine how much richer my life would have been if we'd been more like brothers than cousins. Sometimes we're looking for friendships out there when our deepest friendships have been here all along. Today we're shining the spotlight on a saint who realized that her greatest friendship was one of Christianity's greatest saints, Saint Benedict. He was not only her brother, he was her twin. Today we shine the spotlight on Saint Scholastica, whose feast day is February the 10th. Twins often share the same interests and ideas with an equal intensity. Therefore, it's no surprise that Scholastica and her twin brother, Saint Benedict, established religious communities within a few miles of each other. Born in 480 of wealthy parents, Scholastica and Benedict were brought up together, as twins would, until he left central Italy for Rome to continue his studies. Now, little is known about Scholastica's early life. She founded a religious community for women near Monte Cassino, 5 miles from where her brothers governed a monastery. The Benedictine nuns, even today, are cloistered. Cloistered is those are nuns that stay secluded in a monastery, spending their days in prayer. The twins visited each other once a year in a farmhouse because Scholastica was not permitted inside her brother's monastery. They spent time discussing spiritual matters. According to St. Gregory the Great, the brother and sister spent their last day together in prayer and conversation. Scholastica sensed that her death was close at hand, and she begged Benedict to stay with her until the next day. He refused her request because he did not want to spend a night outside the monastery and thus breaking his own rule. Scholastica asked God to let her brother remain, and a severe thunderstorm broke out, preventing Benedict and his monks from returning to the abbey. Benedict cried out, "God forgive you, sister, what have you done?" Scholastica replied, "I asked a favor of you and you refused. So I asked a favor of God and he granted it." Brother and sister parted the next morning after that discussion. 3 days later, Benedict was praying in his monastery, and he saw the soul of his sister rising heavenward in the form of a white dove. Benedict then announced the death of his sister to the monks, and later buried her in the tomb that he had prepared for himself. So what now what? We don't look at the saints like you would look at historical figures that might be on a test someday. No, we look at saints to learn about the lessons of their lives, to see what they have to tell us about how we can live our life today. It's often easier to be nicer and even more polite to strangers than to our own family. So how can I show my family how much I value them? What friendships am I missing out on because of that? Thanks for watching. My name is Dave, and I am not in charge.